Right guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be showing you 5 techniques to improve an already painted army and really bring it to life and add those finishing touches. So here we have my Adeptus Mechanicus army, which I built and painted way back in 7th edition when Cult Mechanicus and Scutari were separate codexes. So I painted these probably 5 to 6 years ago, and they're okay, but I'm going to show you 5 easy techniques to make them look so much better. So the first technique I'm going to show you guys is chipping, and we're going to be using the colours Typhus Corrosion and Lead Belcher, and we're going to use this little bit of sponge from one of my figure cases. You normally pull these out when you've got slightly bigger figures that don't fit in the gaps. So all you're going to do is get a little bit of Typhus Corrosion on the end of your sponge, just dab it on some kitchen roll to take the thick of it off, and then we're going to lightly dab the sponge around the edges of the vehicle. Now this works best on flat surfaces or very jagged edges like the vehicles that you see here, not so much for infantry. And you can see here I'm just sponging around all of the sharp 90-degree edges as well as the bottom of the vehicle, and it just gives that weathered effect, whether the paint's starting to rub off, whether it's being chipped off, or worn battle damage. So we just cover parts of the vehicle, not too much, just enough to get rid of those plain red boring flat panels. And of course we'll do this with the rest of the model, so the Castellan robots, the Onagen Dune Crawler and more. We're then going to repeat the process using Lead Belcher, so just get enough wiped off your sponge, and then we're just going to do the same sort of areas, and the idea is that where the paint is weathered off or being chipped off and such, that the metal is showing through. Complemented by the Typhus Corrosion, I think this is really quick and easy effective method to get chipping on your vehicles and models. Step 2 is weathering powders, and you can pick these up from all over the place. I've got some here from Scale 75 and some from Vallejo. You can get them in browns, greens, blacks. You can see a red one here as well as a sienna one. I'm going to go straight in though with the brown by Scale 75, and we're going to use a very soft makeup brush here. We're just going to dip it into the weathering powder, tap the majority of the excess off, and start applying it to the models, in particular around their feet and parts of the base that are already painted, and it helps just break up the flat couple of colours that you've got there, and it ties the feet into the rest of the model. I'm also going to apply a little bit to the ruins that are here on the base as well, and just kind of drag it up so that it looks as though the mud and dust has obviously blown up over time. To break it up a little bit further and just create those natural tones, I'm actually going to apply a second weathering powder here, and I'm just going to apply it on parts of the base where I haven't put the other weathering powder, and again a little bit just on the ruins and around the feet, a small amount just to tie it in together. Creates that nice blend of natural tones. And of course, if you've got robots with exhausts or grinding gears and things like that, a little bit of black weathering powder in some of the joints, in particular here on the Castellan robot behind his knees and the hip joints and the elbow joints. It's a good idea to just add a bit here. It really makes those panels look a lot darker. They're a lot closer to the exhausts and grease. Yeah, I think this looks really cool, in particular on top of silver. My brushes of choice throughout this project are going to be this set of synthetic brushes from Artiscapade, And if you are interested in getting a full set of 15 brushes, you can get 15% off with the link below. I've really enjoyed painting with these brushes, and there is a whole range of brushes available in this set. Here we have the round brush that helps you get into all of those crevices around the curvature of the shield on this Mortec guard. And of course the round comes in several sizes. Next up we've got the spot brushes. There's 3 sizes of these in the set, and these are absolutely perfect for getting eyes painted very neatly. Next up is the flat set. There's about 3 flat brushes, and this is perfect for very big blocky colours, so perfect for painting your base rims as well as painting panels on vehicles. And we also have the liner brushes as well, which is perfect for getting any fiddly block colours done. This set comes in one package, guys. You can get 15% off by clicking the link below. The handles are fantastic. I find them very comfortable to paint with. So go and please check them out for 15% off. But for now, let's get back to the video. Number 3 is OSL, or Object Source Lighting. This is great for plasma guns and headlights. So this Skitari Vanguard, I am using Escopina Green, and I'm airbrushing this onto the plasma where I'd previously painted it, and I'm just making sure that I overspray slightly outside of the area where the coil is. So I want the light to be reflecting on the panels of the gun, a little bit on the guy's arm, and across the top of the canisters on the front as well. We're also going to cover the backpack with this as well. And then we're going to highlight this with light livery green. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to spray this in the middle of the coil, because that's where it's going to be the hottest and the brightest. So we're just adding a little bit here, right to the center, across the top and each side, as well as the very highlights of the coil. So we don't want this to be quite as thick layer as what the Escopina Green was, but you can see here that in the center of the coil it really glows bright, and we're just going to touch the edges of the coil pack on the backpack as well. But of course, green plasma isn't the only source of glow in this army. We've got lots of arc rifles and taser gourds as well. So with this, we're going to use electric blue by Vallejo, and then we're going to lighten it down by using a little bit of white as well. So using the same principle, we're going to cover the whole area of the coil in electric blue. And then we're going to make sure that just some of the panels of the gun, the sides, the tops, and a little bit of overspray just on the body of the guy to represent, you know, it's a very bright gun. There's lots of light being given off. It's very intense. Before we highlight that arc rifle though, there's a couple of other bits on the onager that I want to apply the same principle to. This headlight here right in the middle panel of the onager is perfect. So I'm just going to spray this blue, and you can see here I'm just circling around slightly, get that panel covered. You can see here I'm just bringing the blue down ever so slightly onto the red panel to reflect the light glowing down. There's also a tiny little headlight on top of the stubber on top, and there's 2 on the side, so we're going to get that base colour of electric blue put down for these before we highlight them. So to highlight, I have mixed a tiny bit of electric blue with a lot of white, and now we're going to be highlighting all of those arc rifles or headlights that we've just done. So we're going to start here with the headlight on the onager, and because this is a much lighter colour, we're just going to spray in the very centre of the headlight just to make sure it's bright, and just drag it down ever so slightly, but not covering the whole area that we did with the electric blue previously. And of course, going back to the arc rifles across the rest of the army, we're going to be applying the same principle as the plasma. We're going to be making sure that we highlight just the very center of all of the arc coils, so that that is the brightest. So the next thing that we're going to do is use streaking grime. Now this is from AK Interactive. It can be picked up at most hobby stores and online. And this is perfect for Adeptus Mechanicus or Orcs or possibly even Necrons. Anything with lots of mechanical parts, this is going to look really, really good on. Give this a really, really good shake. This is enamel, so it does need a really good mix. And you want a generous size brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to be applying this to sort of nuts and bolts around the model and then sort of dragging it down. You want the downward motion to reflect the direction that the grime and the streaks are going to have ran due to gravity. So we're dragging these down here on the arm of the Castellan. We're also going to be applying it to the Onager as well as the Scorpius. You can apply this under panels and then drag it down to one side, sort of where rain has maybe pooled and then pulled all of the oil and grease down. I've got two colours here. I've got an oily grime and I've got a rusty grime. Now the rust doesn't look so great on my red army, but it will look great on other colours because obviously you can't really see it on the red panels, but certainly the oily grime comes out very, very well. What you want to do is put enough on so there are pools, and then you're going to leave it to dry for quite a bit of time, probably an hour or so. So now that they're dry, you can see here I've done quite a lot on the panel of the Onager. I'm going to use a Q-tip or earbud as they're known in the UK. And what we're going to do is we're just going to drag the grime down. It smudges and smears very, very well using a Q-tip. And you can see here it just, rather than it being a very stark line dragged down through your paint panels, you can literally smudge it out, smear it here and there. You can change the shape of it and soften it down a little bit so it looks like it's been there a long time and it hasn't been washed. You can see here in particular the panel on the front, I can drag it out and make sure that it's not a black line down the middle of a red panel. If you're unhappy with any of the streaking grime, you can add a little bit of white spirit to the tip of your cotton bud, and you can actually just wipe this off almost entirely. There is other things that you can use streaking grime for. They're perfect for washes on metals to then wipe them off again later, but we're not going to do that here. And the last step is exhaust burn. So this is great on flamers, exhaust on models, perhaps the tips of guns like las cannons, and in particular the neutron laser. I normally do this by airbrush, but it can be done using contrast paints if you don't have an airbrush. And the colours that you want to use are Shyish Purple, Leviathan Blue, and Black Templar. Now, on bigger models than what I'm about to show you, I would recommend using some contrast medium to thin this down a little bit. And what you want to do is when you are blending these, you need to keep all of the colours wet whilst you work. So we're going to use Shyish Purple to paint about 2/3 of the tip of the flamer here. It's already painted gold, which is the perfect base colour, but make sure you cover around 2/3 of the flamer exhaust before we then move on to Leviathan Blue. Whilst the Shyish Purple is still wet, of course, we're going to use Leviathan Blue, and we're going to cover about the first third of the tip of the flamer this time. So not the whole area that we've just painted purple, we're just going to go for sort of the first third. Blend them together at the very tips, but at the bottom end of it, you want that to be Leviathan Blue. We're just going to use Black Templar on the very, very tip where the gun would have suffered the most weathering. But of course, my favourite way to do it is with the airbrush. I'm going to show you how to do it on the tip of the neutron laser here and the stubber. You can also do this on the exhausts as well. So we're going to start off by using Vallejo Glorious Gold, and we're going to cover the majority of the tip here. Now obviously this was already painted gold, but Glorious Gold is a very bright gold, and I think it's a fantastic base for the second colour to go over. We're going to cover nearly all of the tip, like I said, with the Glorious Gold, and most of the tip of the stubber as well. Second colour is Hexed Lichen, and we are going to be covering about 2/3 of the gold using Hexed Lichen, and the blend is very nice, very warm and bright, and helps reflect those burnt tones. The next colour is Ultramarine Blue, again by Vallejo, and we're going to be covering about half of the purple in this colour, so about 1/3 of the total of the tip of the gun. So you can see here I'm just doing the very front where it starts to taper. And the final colour is just going to be black, and we're just covering the absolute very tip of the gun here, and you can see the blend from the gold through the purple, blue and black looks really good for minimal effort, and you can see here on the exhausts as well, it looks really great, super quick and super easy. And there we have it, guys. 5 easy tips to make a once tired looking army look absolutely amazing. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and continue watching future videos. I look forward to hearing from you guys very soon. Bye bye.